This is feminism, people. All the women on the panel claiming to be Christian. You can't be a Christian and be a feminist at the same time. Feminism is antithetical to Christianity. Feminism is evil.
Oh, okay. Well, going around the table, Jason Cassell, thank you so much for the TTS. Really appreciate it. Do you consider yourself a feminist?
No, not really. Yeah.
No.
No?
Depends on how you define it, but no.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I would say yes, but then if I was asked by a feminist, sometimes they don't think sex workers can be feminists, so it depends. Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I'm anti-feminism.
Anti-feminist, okay.
Same here, anti-feminist.
Yeah, anti-feminism.
Anti-feminist. All right, we'll come back to the feminist conversation
Can
later.
I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I was just, for Chair 3, what do you think, I want to know this, what do you think submission means? What does that mean to you, submission?
Like
Submission
listening
to your husband.
Like, yeah, respecting your husband, respecting their final decision making. I mean, obviously it depends on the situation, but typically trusting their decision making.
Then you're deciding
okay.
when to be submissive, and ultimately you're not being submissive.
What do you mean?
Yeah, well, hang on. Before you get into it, I just want to make sure that, because I think it's a fair criticism that, if you're not defining terms, do you think that submission means obey?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, obey. And obedience?
Yeah.
Part of submission?
Yeah.
Okay, so then why would you, I guess following that line of reason, would it be submissive or non-submissive to question your husband's authority on a major decision?
Well, it's not that I wouldn't listen, it's that I would want to have a conversation about it, and I think most decisions can, I don't think and obviously there's some situations that we addressed that there does need to be an urgent decision that should be made by the husband. I think most major life decisions can be talked about before they're decided on.
I agree they can be. What I'm asking you to reconcile is your definition of submission being also obedience, obeying, trusting, doing, and reconciling that with the idea that there needs to be X to placate you if there's even a major decision which happens. Can you tell me how that fits your definition of submission?
Sorry, what do you mean by that? Like, you're asking what?
If you question the authority of your husband by demanding a conversation with something he doesn't want to converse about, but rather wants you to be obedient in, how does that form to your version of submission? How's that you being submissive?
I wouldn't necessarily question and demand a conversation. I think just in general, it could be problematic if a guy is not seeking discussions with his wife, though, because the initial example that was brought up at the very beginning in the clip was you're moving in 3 weeks, and you come in and you say that. I don't know why you could not immediately after have a discussion. Hey, how are you feeling about this? Instead of coming in and just throwing it on her.
Perhaps you can, but the idea here isn't what can or can't do. The idea here is what is submission, what is not.
Yeah.
Is it actually submission? If he says, listen, I know that you probably have all sorts of protests here, but I don't want to hear them. I want you to instead execute and obey what it is that I'm expressing to you that I want done, to obey my will. Are you then submitting or not submitting by saying, no, we need to stop right now and have a conversation about this?
I'm not saying I would stop and say, hey, let's have a conversation. I might want to, and you can submit to your husband, and I can also still think that he should have a conversation with me about these things.
Yeah, sure. You can say that you think that he should, but the idea there in the clip then, when you had a criticism, you just countered the criticism because you said, no, I'm not saying that I would actually question it. That is submission, and that is exactly what I expressed. Submission is obedience.
Right, yeah, no, I'm saying I would absolutely submit to that. But no, my issue is this idea that guys should not be just making decisions. Sorry, I know you want to talk.
Oh, no,
as a person who doesn't care what they have to say all the time. I don't think that there's decisions where that's, obviously there are some, but in general that's not necessary. So I'm just pointing out that if a guy is doing this on things that can be talked about, that's an issue.
Well, then that's countering the trust that women should have in faith in men.
No,
The thing is that inside of a Christian marriage, you're supposed to have trust and faith that your husband's leading you correctly, and trust and faith in his authority. When you say things like this, like, no, he needs to stop and have a conversation with you, he needs to justify it to you, he needs to make arguments to you for it, things like this, you're actually countering the view. It's actually what it does is it inverts it. It inverts the view of what submission is actually supposed to be. It's obedience to your husband. It's really, inside the Christian view, at the purview of the man to make these decisions. And that, I think, women should be reinforcing, who are Christian women. They should be reinforcing that idea of trust in your husband. Trust in your husband. Trust in your husband. And they don't. Instead, they resist submission at every level because they think it's mean. They just quote mean, you know. It's like, that to me is absurd.
I have a question for you, Andrew. So, question, is it submission if, like, let's say, you know, you're like, oh, we're going to move, the husband goes, oh, we're going to move to Nevada in 3 months. And then the woman's like, okay, I'm going to pack both of our stuff now. I just need you to tell me, like, why, as I'm packing. I don't need, like, I'm going to do it either way. I just need to know the reason. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Is that submission?
Well, actually, this is a great question. I understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
Let me
I'm doing
repeat
it.
back to make sure. Let me repeat it back to make sure you got it. So he says, look, we're moving in just a couple of weeks, right? You need to pack everything up.
I'm doing
and you go, okay, I'm packing it up, honey. Right? Now tell me why we're doing this again.
Yeah.
Right? Got it. So here's the thing. Let's say you do ask that question. He says, no.
Why? Well, is it legal stuff?
No. Don't say no. Just say, he says no. What is your role in the Christian view? He says, you say, can you tell me why? And he says, no. No.
I would be scared if it was it legal? Like, if it's another woman, I don't care. We'll pack up and leave. I don't,
Okay,
whatever.
Sure.
Like,
So he looks at you and he says, no, it's not legal.
oh,
there you go.
Then I'm like, okay, like, then whatever. Okay, if it's not legal, then cool. We're not like skipping town, you know?
Yeah, okay. So then you're going to assume.
Okay, if it's not legal, then whatever. Like, I don't care. I've lived out of a bag for like 10 years anyways.
Yeah, got it. But what I'm saying is that within the purview of submission, right?
Is that
the fact that you even had to ask him if it was legal is also moving against your idea of trust.
Really?
It's moving against
No
the idea
way.
of trust in the authority of your husband.
Well, then wait. Question. I got a question for you. What if I like pre-planned, like, in advance, in a sense where I was like, hey, on a date with him, you know, before we were even married, and I was like, hey, if you ever needed to skip town, can you just let me know? My rule is to let me know, is it legal involved? If it's legal involved, then
So you mean you set down some boundaries that you had within
before I even get married.
Yeah, early on.
Yes.
Right? Do you expect him to adhere to the boundaries that you
I would hope so, yeah, because I'm going to adhere to all mine.
No.
Oh,
That's
what?
not submission.
What? No way.
That's right.
Come on, it's
That's
earlier.
not submission. Submission in the
But can he
Christian
just
view,
tell me if it's legal or not?
Submission is the obedience to your husband.
I know, but what about the law?
Christian view. It's obedience to the husband. Listen, I'm gonna try to explain this the best way I can. Inside the Christian view, even if pre-marriage you had some discussion about whatever it was, right? But here's what is put on the man's shoulders in the Christian view. He's to put his life before the lives of his wife and before the lives of his children. He's to accept all danger. They get the lifeboat, right? He doesn't get the lifeboat. He stays behind, right? If they're marooned on a desert island, he's the one who gets eaten and not them, okay? If there's any sort of defense of the nation which comes up, his duty and obligation is to go and take care of that problem. Mm-hmm. By the way, these are not the only duties that they have. That's just some, but the starting level of security at the home starts with the husband and the head, who is the husband. If they are providing those duties and providing those resources inside of the home, as they're supposed to do inside of the Christian view, right? Their wife's job is to submit to the authority. If he's holding up his end, right? His end of the authority here, you're supposed to be holding up his end of the authority, period.
Okay, well, we'll go. Quick question, last one. So what if we made this thing where I was like, okay, if we ever need to skip town, move, whatever, could I just be like this, and then if you do this, then I know it's not legal?
Yeah, you can.
So I'm not an accomplice?
You can put in the request for any high sign that you would want.
Okay, I'll just be like this, and if he goes like this, I'm like,
listen,
cool.
You can put in a request, but that's the opposite of submission to make a demand that he obeys your authority. A husband is not obligated to obey the authority of their wife. The opposite is the case.
I just went like this, and legal. Like, is this
but
legal?
what if they respond with this? you know? Right? Their authority.
Even if it was legal, I'd be like, cool, do I get a lawyer?
You
Like,
gave me
you know,
your
to
high
help
sign,
us?
and I
Like,
gave you my high sign, right?
I would want to know if it was legal. If it was legal, it's fine. I'll just get a lawyer. That's fine. I just want to know, do I make the call?
No, you don't have any trust or faith in your husband?
I do. I do trust. I just want to know if
Well,
it's legal.
If you have trust, then trust.
What?
And
But
do
the
you know-
legal.
and you know why that makes so much sense? Because the idea here is that if the man is taking the head, the Christ head here,
Okay.
the role, right? The same way you're supposed to trust and have faith in Christ is the same way you're supposed to trust and have faith.
So I'm going to assume it's not legal.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
supposed to. I would.
Yes.
Okay.
chose
Then-
legal,
I
you
just
have to
thought
trust
immediate
like that.
Trust in
Yeah.
As long as it's not illegal, I'm cool. I don't care. I can live anywhere.
Think about how easy it'd be too to trust in a man who's taking on the role of dying for you. Like you're
yeah.
like your husband is supposed to love you as Christ loved the church, and Christ has died for you. So I think it'd be really, really, really easy to take in that submission role and take on that submission role when you know that he loves you enough to die for you.
Yeah, I'm cool, but he knows that I'm going to do this at one point.
Wait, I do have, going around the table on that note, the man being willing to die, should your boyfriend, say you've been dating for a year, should your husband be willing to die, for, like take the bullet for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
Only if he wants to. Because, yeah.
Okay, quick answers.
Willing to, yes.
Willing to, yes.
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 Okay. And then if a guy wasn't willing to, like, what's your response? Like, if he's like, nah, I'm not doing it,
Then why are we dating?
why are we dating?
dating?
Okay, he's got to give his life,
He's obviously not fulfilling that role.
not fulfilling that role.
No,
okay.
I think like as
Yeah.
Christians we should be willing to take the bullet. Like I'm willing to take a bullet for most people. Like I think that it's pretty selfish
But
to
in
not.
a situation, you said man. The man should take the bullet.
Yeah, I mean I think everyone should I would take a bullet for my husband too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah,
too. I would too.
Yeah, but like,
But that's actually beating up your own biblical role again, right? So
I
the idea
wouldn't.
here is
I would take a bullet for him.
the reason
Of course,
you're not
Andrew's mad at me
supposed
for
to-
wanting to die for my husband.
Look, I'm not even trying to be. I'm beating up the ideology, not you personally. The things that you're saying here don't make any sense. Even from the Christian role, that would be incorrect. He should step in for all threats towards his family. That is his ultimate duty unto not only fulfill to his family, but unto God. He's supposed to. You
Yeah.
don't have to.
Yeah,
Not
but I
only-
want
and you-
to.
And here's why you shouldn't.
And I
Here's
think
why
we
you shouldn't
should.
even. Hang on, here's why you shouldn't even. Because the idea is you're a caretaker for the children, this kind of thing, right? These roles are set for a specific reason, right? But all of this usually comes down to just a paltry excuse for egalitarianism and refusal to submit to your husband's authority. And so you come up with all sorts of crazy mental gymnastics to try to justify egalitarianism, why we need to be more equal, why the husband and wife need to have a fair shake against each other. No, the Christian view, submission of the wife to the husband, husband leads and is in authority.
just look that way. Okay. Wait, I had to follow up on this. Well, I guess my confusion is there was a lot of pushback on this whole, the man, like you don't want to be submissive to your husband, but you want him to die for you? Like, does that seem like a fair, like the least a man can get, I suppose a Christian man can get, is if he's willing to die for you, if he's going to provide, if he's going to protect, you should at least obey him. That's way better trade-off. I just have to obey, you have to die. Shit, if somebody gave me the choice, none of y'all are gonna date me after this. If I have to obey if the choice is, okay, Brian, you gotta obey somebody or you die, I think I'd rather obey somebody. Now I'm gonna get called a beta male, whatever, fine. I accept the beta male title. I will survive and whatever. I think the woman should take the bullet because I'm better suited to, after breastfeeding, I'm better capable. Maybe breastfeeding, the women are better at. Can you milk a man? I don't think you can milk a man.
No, they're actually doing I heard, breastfeeding. yeah, for that
I don't think you can milk a man.
there's
Not
you can
naturally.
lactate.
Males do lactate.
Yeah.
There are males do lactate, yes.
Yep.
That's
You can milk a man. Wow, that is
You
disturbing.
have to
That's
take
disturbing.
drugs for it.
There was a big to-do because there was a group of the T's who pumped themselves full, in fact, of various hormones so that they could lactate more. And there was a big controversy over what the quality was of what they were putting out there. And when it was scientifically tested, it was not good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Shocker.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think, shit.
Sorry, can't
If
do
the
it.
guy's got to take a bullet for you, it's a fair trade-off. You gotta listen to what he says. You gotta listen to him.
Somebody in your chat said man milk. That's so gross.
Man, oh my gosh, that sounds like an actual drink.
We have some chats here on YouTube.